It's just a random video coming out of the news of Derby County going into administration on Friday night. I don't know if anybody's ever seen my videos before. I made a few videos a few years ago following the team that I support, and I always will support is Derby County. And obviously, sad news for us going to administration, but I can see it coming. I could have seen it coming, and I could see over the past 18 months, probably like longer than that, further along the line than that, it was coming. And the sad thing about it is I can see it happening to more clubs. And this is the thing that I want to get across. And I don't know if anybody's going to see it. And people might not agree with me, but what I say, I think is the truth. And I hope people can agree with me. And if you do, please just let me know you agree with me. So there's many factors into Derby County administration. One is obviously Mel Morris. And both points I'm going to make here, I'm only going to make 2 points. Both points lead hand in hand with each other. And one of the points I think needs a massive change in football in general. So Mel Morris has spent a lot of money on players, on loads of things at Derby. Like, even as a Derby fan, we used to sing, we'll sign who we want. We sign who we want. We're Derby County, we'll sign who we want. And for a period of time, that was the case. And that has generally backfired. But Mel Morris has invested a lot in players. But not only did he invest in players, he also invested in managers. And he gave managers chances. I'm sorry, that's a lie. He didn't give managers chances. What he would do was he would hire a manager on a long contract, give him a transfer window. And then a few months after the transfer window, he wouldn't be happy with the manager. Even some manager doing well and still got sacked. They then will be sacked and replaced by a new manager who would have new philosophies, new players that he wants to bring in. So then that person would come in for a transfer window, sign his players for a lot of money, like Mel Morris would do, spend a lot of money, and then he once again would then release that manager, sack that manager, bring another manager in. So then for a period of 4 or 5 years, Derby is signing big players, but we're not building a squad, we're just signing players for managers who aren't there. But Mel Morris spending money goes to the point I want to make. The reason why Mel Morris was spending money was because the money in the Premier League is ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. And it's a massive, massive problem with today's football with how much money is in the Premier League. Because just over the past 4 or 5 years, the TV money has gone flying high. So I don't know the figures exactly, but just say the team who finishes bottom of the Premier League gets £100+ million TV money. For a championship team, even though they might have a bigger fan base, they might have bigger merchandise, everything like that, fan bases around the world. In a championship, you would get not even half of that. And then not only them Premier League teams who get that money, when they get relegated, they'll also have the parachute payments for like 3 to 5 years to help them recover and make sure they don't go into administration, because obviously they've signed bigger players in the Premier League and stuff like that. But then that creates a massive gap between the teams from the Premier League and the Championship. And there's only one division apart from them. But the finances between the two leagues are just out of this world. Out of this world. And that's the problem. So Mel Morris was gambling. He threw all his eggs in one basket and he was gambling. But the reason why he was gambling was because the gold at the end of the rainbow in the Premier League is what everybody wants. And the thing is, how many teams now have gone down from the Premier League, have gone back up to the Premier League, have come down from the Premier League and come back up to the Premier League? Because the thing is, a team will go into the Premier League and they'll get the money from the Premier League, which is completely out of this world compared to the Championship. And then once they get relegated, they'll also have the parachute payments for 3 to 5 years. So they're not feeling the pressure of money like the Championship clubs. The teams who want to compete with them will have to spend bigger to try and compete with them because they don't have the Premier League money. But then that team who have come down can keep the players, can keep everything else. And then they can then press to go again. And quite a few teams have come down from the Premier League or gone back up again. But the thing is, because they have had a season or 2 seasons out of the Premier League before going back up there, the Premier League teams who have stayed up there and maintained the Premier League status have had that money coming in for another couple of years. So then they, in that period of time, have improved their clubs by so much more, spending so much money on more players. So then the transfer market then increases again. So then the teams in the Championship cannot compete with it because the teams who keep maintaining the Premier League status are just financially just ripping apart the English game. Because it's sad to see a team like Derby go into administration But that's not the saddest thing we've seen in football over the recent years. You got your teams like Bowie, you got your teams like Blackpool have had troubles, Bolton, Wigan got relegated even though they had a great end of the season they got relegated. And yet they got relegated just because of finances. Yet that Premier League and the Premier League teams, if they all come together and put in a little bit of money, let's just say £1 million each for per club, which is nothing, that would help subsidise the clubs in the lower leagues who do not get the TV revenue like the Premier League clubs, to help them sustain. Because this is the sad thing about football now today, is it's lost its soul, it's lost everything, because it's all about money, it's all about that end prize. But what people need to understand is, without fans, football is nothing. So every time a club gets a new owner, they get promised the world. At the end of the day, they're not going to be there. In 20 years' time, they're not going to be there. They might be there, very, very rarely, but they're not going to be there. But the fans will. So what people need to understand, yes, it's a business. Yes, it's, if you get into the Premier League, your business will boom and your pocket will get bigger. But it's the people who go to work Monday to Friday, who spend their good hard money to go to a football game at a weekend just to release the energy. That's the people who this game's for. Not you to come in, gamble everything just for your pocket. It's about us people, us fans, and we're getting forgotten about. And it's sad to see Derby going to administration, but in my opinion, in the next few years, many, many more teams would go the same way. The teams who have not been in the Premier League, or the teams, especially in the Championship, who have spent money to reach the promised land of the Premier League and not quite made it, just like Derby. Them teams are going to be in very similar situations as Derby. And that comes from people above the football clubs that need to have a look at themselves and need to think that finances and football is dead. Just you need to understand that this game is for fans and not for them businessmen. So now, I know not many people are going to see this, and that's not. I just need to get my voice off and my opinions out. Is that the finances in football is ridiculous, and the fans have been forgotten about because the money is so high and so great in football. And I've got to say one thing: football without fans is nothing.